Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Jake and Friends. As always, I'm Jake, and I've been joined by my best friend Parker Stanners for about the last 9 episodes or so. And special guest today is Riley Leonard, who's the former starting quarterback for Duke University Blue Devils from 2021 to 2023, and most recently transferred to the University of Notre Dame to finish out a senior season for the Fighting Irish in South Bend, Indiana. Riley is also from Fairhope, Alabama, where he graduated from Fairhope High School, which is AKA Eastern Shore, USA, and most likely wore AFCOs and ate at Sunset Point every day for an entire year. So thanks for joining us today, Riley.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever eat at Sunset Point?
Dude, it was too pricey for me, and not big enough portions either. But my girlfriend made me go a couple of times, so I had to, bring out
nights,
big
man.
bucks.
The date nights, you gotta go to Sunset Point.
I was more of a Saraceno's guy. The people in Barnwell, if they're up on the countryside, like to go to Saraceno's. So that was my country buffet that I went to.
Oh yeah.
So
Jake, only the locals know about that, by the way. You wouldn't understand Saraceno's. It's okay, man.
I was just nodding my head. I was like, yeah, man, sure. Sounds legit. I thought locals would only know about Sunset Point, which if you haven't been to Fairhope, it is a seafood restaurant on the bay, or I guess by Marina, and it's a really cool spot. Yeah. So if you're ever in Fairhope and want to spend $100 on a meal, then go there because it's pretty good. We've been there a couple times, but so how long have you been at the University of Notre Dame now, Riley?
I've been there for like 3 weeks. A lot has happened in these 3 weeks. It's obviously been very cold and cloudy. That's why I'm so pale. Yeah, the first day I got here, man, it was -9 with wind chills of -34. It was a Sunday. I was the only one on campus walking to the facility from my apartment. And I had 911 on speed dial as I was inching across campus. I had a hoodie on. I mean, I was so cold, ready to call 911. Anyways, we're at like 30 degrees now, and it's like t-shirt weather here. So we're doing
for 30 degrees, people, man. That's that t-shirt weather down here. You know how it is down here, man. It's not like that at all.
Yeah. So it's good.
Have you met Manti Te'o's girlfriend yet?
I've not. So when we played Notre Dame, my family was the family on College game day with all the Manti Te'o signs.
Oh, man. I'm just kidding. Someone from Notre Dame is going to watch this and think this guy's a piece of garbage. I'm just kidding. So how old were you when that happened, by the way? Because you're 21 now. Do you even remember that? Or were you like 3 or 4?
Yeah, I don't even know when it was, but I don't remember much of it.
Okay.
How are we, Smitty? I don't even remember.
I don't know. That was like 2012, probably. I think.
Was
right?
that?
I'm not real sure, but we were probably 22. We were in college when that was the thing because I remember. I think Alabama did Alabama play Notre Dame that year? And that was the biggest, because in Alabama everyone was like, ready to kill Notre Dame, and unfortunately, for Notre Dame it was one-sided, but. That was like the talk of the whole year. I do want to play a little game though, since you weren't old enough to remember that. This is really just a quick game to sort of like, because in my mind, Parker and I we're in our early 30s, and so a lot of these things that we still think are like cool to us or like common knowledge are definitely probably not common knowledge to someone who's in college now. So I guess
we're prepared for this for you, Riley.
Dude, this wasn't in the playbook for sure. So, where did Justin Timberlake get his start?
Justin Timberlake, I have no idea. Like literally no clue.
So there are two acceptable answers. So he technically started in the Mickey Mouse Club, which was a Disney thing that wasn't. I mean, it was sort of before our time, but he was also He was also in NSYNC. Have you ever heard of NSYNC?
NSYNC, yeah, I have heard of them, but I have no idea like any of their songs. But I've heard like the name before.
It's okay. No, NSYNC was like I don't know who's the boy band now. Is it the BTS guys? Are they popular now? I just saw it. It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Second question: who is Topanga Lawrence?
Dude, these are from like the 50 years ago. There's no way you guys know who these people are. Topanga Lawrence?
Topanga.
Okay, Topanga.
No idea.
Okay, do you know this? Do you know the show Boy Meets World?
No, he doesn't. If he knew who Topanga was, he'd know.
Okay, Topanga was like at our age, like she was like the girl, like on Disney Channel. There was a show on Disney Channel, and like every guy thought she was like the hottest girl ever.
If she wasn't your first crush, then like I don't know who was, because she was like, because that was like middle school for us. So it was like Boy Meets World was like on for like 2 or 3 hours a day after school, and you just watch them all. But anyway, I would ask you a third question, but I don't know that you would know that one either. You're over 2.
There's no way anybody my age knows this stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna quiz my girlfriend after this.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and ask the third one. Where did Beyonce get her start?
No clue.
Over 3. Destiny's Child.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's okay.
It was a girl band with Beyonce.
Well, I started playing that game. Boys. I used to.
Our age, Jake. You're showing our age.
It does.
Man.
I know. Well, I used to travel for work, and like when I was probably 4 or 5 years into my career, I guess I'd have been like 28 or 29 then, and like the 24-year-olds would come in straight out of college, and I would just quiz them on these like kind of questions just to see like what they'd say. And I had a guy who we grew up with who was like, hasn't Justin Timberlake always been Justin Timberlake? And I was like, dude, you're not even that much younger than me. So
I don't blame him.
I guess there's a cutoff, but anyway. So were you born in Fairhope, or did you move there as a kid, or?
Yeah, so I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. My dad went to the Citadel, and my mom went to the College of Charleston. So, they settled in my dad ended up working at a golf course in Charleston, and he had me and my 2 brothers, Cole and Devin. Cole's 2 years older than I am. Devin's 2 years younger than I am, so I'm the middle child. Whenever I was 3 years old, we moved down to Fairhope. Most of my family's from Washington, D.C., so we were, the only ones down in the South, and I've been living there ever since, and it's been like the biggest blessing in the world to me. Like I'm a product of my environment, like 100%. Like everybody that I came into contact with affected me in a positive way in Fairhope. Like there's really no place like it, and I really didn't take it for granted whenever I was there at all. I thought it was the coolest place in the world. But now that you leave, like people ask me what I want to do, like after I'm done playing football or after I get out of college, and it's like where do I want to go? Like honestly, probably back to Fairhope. And like it's not because like I'm a homebody or anything. It's just like the best place I've been in the U.S. since I've traveled to all these various places over my college days. But man, I love every part of it. It's been unreal.
Yeah, I agree, man. So how did you guys get down here? Did your parents just like get a job here? Did you have family around here?
Yeah, my dad in the golf course business moved down here to work. He was a GM at Rock Creek, and now he's at Peninsula and Craft Farms. So free golf. Can't ask for much more as a college kid with a bunch of buddies back home.
I played at Craft Farms before. I got a hat from there. Didn't we go there for your brother's 33rd? Is that where we went for your brother's 33rd?
Yeah.
Birthday? Yeah.
You guys probably.
Yeah, what were you
I was gonna say it's expensive. I didn't realize how much it was for a guest. Man. I gotta talk to my dad.
Yeah,
get those fees down.
Yeah, oh man, they put a lot of money into it because it's a nice course.
It's a nice course. Yeah, they both are.
Parker's brother is like, for whatever reason, obsessed with the number 33. He wore that number in baseball, and I don't know why. But then when
Larry
he turned 30, man,
not really. He didn't. Not really. He just liked the number 33. I don't know. So when he turned 33, it was like when he turned 30, it wasn't a big deal. But when he turned 33, it was like huge. So like we went to Craft Farms for his 33rd birthday and had a lot of fun with our friends. But so did you like grow up in church, or Like, how did you become like Christian later on in your life? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, so growing up, didn't go to church, didn't know Christ, didn't know anything about it really. And a big part of my parents' thing was they both grew up in really strict Catholic homes, and it kind of forced them away from Christ, honestly, a little bit. And they, we weren't a church family growing up, and didn't really necessarily care for it too much. I mean, on Easter, we knew what Easter was for. We knew what Christmas was for, and we were, there's a lot of definitions of a Christians these days, but I don't think that we certainly weren't Christian the way that I would define it. And then middle school rolls around for me, and this is where I talked to you guys before about just getting real and not giving you any political answers. Like in middle school, 7th grade, I was on the 8th grade basketball team. Was going to be like the middle school quarterback, all this cool stuff that you would think would be so cool. And I remember like the first couple of days, it was like the coolest thing in the world. You walk into middle school and, you think you're really cool and all that. And then I remember getting out of my car every single day, and my mom would drop me off, and I'd be walking inside, and every single day I'd be like, is this it? Like, I literally have everything I could ever wanted, like sitting in my bed and like, oh, how cool is it going to be to have all this stuff in middle school? I'm like the coolest guy in school. Like, and you go you're so empty inside, and you're like, dude, something's missing. So fortunately enough, I had great coaches that were Christian, invited me to FCA, invited me to it was like First Wednesday or something at the time is what we would call it. And, I got into these Christian groups, and Christian groups like Fairhope are huge. Like, they're really what changed people, like changed my brother, all that stuff. But I ended up going to these groups and finding Christ. And then, 2 years roll around, and the same thing happens in high school for me, starting on varsity basketball and varsity football, and still just so empty. And then once again, have coaches and things like that point me to Christ, and end up, giving my life to Christ, and finding a girlfriend who would take me to church. Found Christ, and ever since then, I was introduced to it in middle school, and then in high school it just took off because I knew I couldn't do the high school days without him. And luckily I learned that at a young age, because if I had learned that any later, maybe I would have made a lot more mistakes along the way. And then for my brothers, my little brother is the same way. Like, he's like one of the biggest Christians I know now, like absolutely, like hands up in church, celebrating the Lord. And like the day he got baptized, I always say it was like the coolest day in the world for me, to see him, because like I said, we didn't really grow up in church, so we kind of developed that on our own. And then my pops as well, within the last year, has given his life to Christ. And like, I get emotional kind of thinking about it, because like that's like the coolest thing in the world to me. Like, I've been on like the biggest stages, like beating Clemson on national TV, being on ESPN, doing all these ESPN interviews, like, and like the fulfillment that you get after a win like that doesn't even come close to like seeing your loved ones like commit to Christ. Like, it's like the coolest. Like, going to church with my girlfriend, like, because we're long distance, like whenever I can go to Auburn and she can come up here, like, that's like everything to me. Like, it doesn't even come close to being collegiate quarterback and winning these big time games on ESPN. So, dude, I know I'm long winded here, but
no, bring it, bring it, dude. Preach. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what you were talking about how nothing comes close to that. And I was just thinking about the verse. I can't remember where it is. I'm not going to try to quote it verbatim, but it's where Paul's talking about like the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus is like better than anything, and everything else he counts it as like rubbish. So I thought that's really cool of you to say, man. So you said you met your girlfriend right when you became a Christian, or was that just sort of like you're not real sure, or in your faith, or sort of walk through that?
We met like 7th grade and whatnot, but we started dating freshman year of high school. So, I mean, we started dating, and then within that year, freshman year of high school, I gave my life to Christ. And I don't know if there was a defining moment, but it was all of the people that poured into me, and like all the good examples I had right in front of my face of what a good Christian looks like. Like that's what I want to be to all these kids nowadays, because I had so many mentors. Like Coach Sanders, you were even one of them. Like the first, like every interaction I had with you, like I just saw a good godly man who I wanted to be like. Like I don't even know if you realize that, but like everybody that comes into contact with you, and like the first time I met, like here's another good Christian man. Like how cool is that to have by my side supporting me? Yeah, like Coach Carter, another one. Gavin Willison, Brandon Willison, all these people I know off season. You got Ryan Smith, you got Pastor Johnny, all these people at Celebration, all these people at Three Circle. Like everybody just pours into me, and just really found me that freshman year. And I was like, holy cow, I want to be like these people. Like I want to give my life to Christ. And sure enough, like ever since then, we just took off.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that, Riley.
Really
cool. It's very challenging at times, because you don't really know if, like, you know, the Bible talks about like planting seeds and being faithful in the moment. Like even you might not ever see this side of eternity any fruit that you produce, that your seed that you plant produces. So it's always very encouraging to hear that. And it's also encouraging to hear like a Division I quarterback, as like you said, like the biggest stages, to say like, that's not even close. No, like it doesn't even come close. Because I mean, me and Jake never have been on the stage you've been on before. But we've been on like, you know, different stages of life that we would both say the same thing. Like there's nothing close that comes to our relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
So it's really cool for you saying that.
Dude. I'm glad it gave me the perspective, because it's unreal. Like I can't even explain it. Like all these Instagram followers, all this popularity, bro, it does not mean anything. It doesn't not even come close to like something that's free. Like having a relationship with Christ is free. Like all these tangible things that I get, like, you know, I'm gifted so many things by so many people that just like give me tangible items. But like when I go to church on Sundays and like I'm freely lifting my hands and worshiping God, like I mean, we're talking like mountains apart. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like because you can't explain it. Like it's just like a peace that surpasses all understanding. Like I remember I was playing, kind of get off topic here, but I was playing baseball in junior college, and things weren't really going my way. I got hurt, and I was trying to play through an injury, and I was playing pretty well, but then like I stopped playing. The coach tried to put me in the lineup. So anyways, long story short, I felt like I was playing pretty good, but I remember sitting on the bench, and it was a doubleheader, like 2 9-inning ball games. I didn't play any. And I was like, and I had just became a Christian, and I specifically remember God telling me in that moment, like, you got to give up baseball. Like you're still holding on to that. Like this is your God, and you're holding on to it. And I need you to let it go. And ever since that moment, it was like, I don't even care what happens to baseball anymore. Like I love it, and I'm going to give it my all, but this does not fulfill me. This will not satisfy me. Like only Jesus satisfies me. And, you know, we still battle with those moments. And I'm sure with you too, Riley, like you battle with those moments, like, you know, oh, look at me. Like I've done this, I've done that. But when he reminds you of like the truth of what life is outside of this world, like it changes everything, and it's unexplainable. So
100%.
You were talking about it being free too. Sorry, Parker. You're talking about it being free, but like I was thinking Romans 6:23. You're talking about for the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. And I just thought when you talking about how it doesn't cost you anything, I just thought of that verse. That's one of those like verses. If you, we may talk more about scripture memory later tonight, but like that's one that you should commit to memory if you haven't already. So
what's that? I'm making a list of Bible verses I'm creating been fortunate enough to partner with a suit company. I'm putting custom verses on the back. So what was that verse? I'd like to put it in the suit.
Romans 6:23.
Okay.
For the wages of sin is death, the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord.
Yeah,
I always get that one in Romans 3:23 confused. So I had to look that one up just to make sure I didn't spoof it.
So Riley, have you seen all the stuff with what's the San Francisco quarterback's name? Brock
Purdy.
Yeah, have you seen how outspoken he's been about his faith? Like, how is
so
that like encouraging to you as like a Division I quarterback, and then seeing like a guy who is going to be on the biggest stage ever, the whole world, and he's like pronouncing Christ? Like, how does that encourage you in your faith?
Yeah, it's been incredible, especially with like the media now these days. Like everybody tries to blur out. I don't know if you saw like the CJ Stroud stuff with a couple.
Yeah, him too. Yep.
Yeah. They, it's hard to explain like the censorship around like Christianity nowadays. I mean, you guys all see it, and to see somebody on that platform, Jalen Hurts last year on that platform, speaking out to Christ, like it's the coolest thing in the world, because there's just this wave of Christianity that follows that kind of stuff, and he's speaking the same language I'm speaking, and that's another person I want to look up to, because I sin every single day, like just as much as anybody. Like I have all these things that go through my head, and I'm constantly sinning, and to see somebody like that, somebody I can look up to, somebody I can replicate and follow, it's been really cool for me.
Yeah. Sort of along the same vein, like, have you had any struggles or temptation to not want to share your faith? Like, because I'll be honest, like, there's times, and even just relating to like my work, like I had a situation come up last week at work, and I had to call an employee who wasn't at work that day, and I was like, had this opportunity, and it was very clear. It was like, you can either share the gospel with this person right now, or you may never get another chance. And so I'm thankful I did, but part of me was like, you don't have to do it. Like that doubt in my mind was like, no, you don't have to do it now. You can do it later.
Yeah. So
have you?
There's two things there. One, when I got to Duke is not a Christian place to be. It's very anti-Christianity in a lot of ways, especially, on the collegiate campus. And that's kind of everywhere these days. But I'm a person that like embraces being different so much that I love seeing the anti-Christianity in a way, because I can combat that. Like, so I have so much more passion to prove them wrong, and to not only prove them wrong, but to like bring them with me to follow Christ as well. So like at Duke, I had like a drive and a power, like a drive underneath me that was like, dude, every chance you get, share the gospel, like be a good representation of what the gospel looks like, because you have so many people that you can bring with you. Like Jesus didn't go to the ones who are already, following him. He went to the sinners. He went to the tax collectors. Like being in a place like Duke, and certainly there were plenty of good people, but I felt like, maybe it needed some Christianity. It needed Jesus. And, I feel like I was maybe able to bring that to them a little bit. The other thing is, I'm really big on like where I stand in my Christ and not being a hypocrite. There are times, and we all feel it whenever we get distant from God. There are times in season where you wake up on a Sunday, after a loss, you get back at like 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. and you don't want to get up and go to church. And then, I miss a church day, and I wake up the next day and somebody asks me about, or like I had the opportunity to speak about Christ, and it's like, I don't want to feel hypocritical. I don't want to say and act like I'm this super religious guy whenever I'm not following Christ as I should be. So I'm very cautious of that, because I think that there are a lot of people that just use him for likes and viewership, and you meet a lot of people in the athletic world who have influence and aren't living the life of Jesus Christ that they should be, but on their Instagram and on a lot of different places you see these scripture verses, and it's kind of a jab in the face to Christ. And so
I feel that too, man. Like like you said that us and some like Coach Carter and all of us, like we're influencing your life, like but you've also seen like how coaches like us have failed and have but the good thing is, like, the gospel is very clear about how Jesus provides grace, and there's new mercies every morning. And yes, we're called to live up to the standard, but we'll never meet it. But we don't have to, because Jesus fulfilled that. So it's very comfortable. It is challenging though. I'm with you on that. So going into that kind of thought, like, how's it been for you to make sure that you're like stay grounded in your faith? Like, has it been a struggle to not put yourself like on a pedestal like everybody else does around you? And then obviously, people in Fairhope, we love you and like we are like so supportive of you. And so how's that been for you, like to make sure like you're not putting yourself up on a pedestal like everybody else is around you?
Yeah, that's honestly like number one hardest thing in my life right now. Transferring to a school like Notre Dame and hitting the transfer portal and all this attention. I get so disgusted with myself sometimes, man. Like you'll walk on campus and you're walking to the grocery store and like you see some people staring and talking about you and whatnot. And like for a second you think that you're somebody. And like it's a cool feeling for like a second, and then you leave and like they're talking about you and you try to act all cool like you're somebody, like, oh, these people know who I am, like I'm the man. I get so mad at myself when I do that. Like it actually like just irritates me so badly because like and my always thing is like I'll leave there being like, oh well, I'm way more humble than these other guys who are in this position. But, like the way that I was raised, like my father, like he said, never compare yourself to the worst. Like always compare yourself to the best, and the best is Jesus. So what would Jesus do in that situation? Would he walk around with his chest sticking out like he's somebody walking around campus? Like I'm only here because of him. Like I was just naturally, I was just blessed with a 6'4" body and a good arm. I didn't really, I've worked to get here and I've done my due diligence and made some right decisions along the way. But like, who am I to think that I'm better than anybody else? And being in a situation like Notre Dame, and it's only going to get worse in the season. Like I just have to keep punching myself and reminding myself, like, dude, you're nobody. Like this is all cool, but man, don't you think that for a second that you're better than anybody else? And that's something I'm still struggling with, man.
Yep.
I saw my pastor said a quote I want to say it's C.S. Lewis. Someone can fact check me. I don't know if it's C.S. No, I think it's Timothy Keller. Timothy Keller said, R.I.P. Actually, no, R.I.P. Not, I don't know. I feel like R.I.P. is a secular thing. Like
he's in heaven, my dude. Yeah.
Yeah. But Timothy Keller said that like looking, or I guess like lowering your ego isn't like thinking less of yourself. It's like thinking of yourself less. You know what I mean? So like not thinking like I am the worst human ever, but like, hey, I'm not at all what I think I am.
I like that.
But Psalm 119, this is also, I had this open, so it's kind of funny that you mentioned what you're about to, or what you just did, but Psalm 19 verse 9 through 11 says, how can a young man keep his way pure? By guarding it according to your word. With my whole heart I seek you. Let me not wander from your commandments. I've stored up your word in my heart that I may not sin against you. And I always think of that, like, when you read that, the first thing I think of is like sexual sin. Like, oh yeah, if I want to combat sexual sin, that's the verse I'm going to. But it's like, just like you were talking about, like pride, ego, like it can be all of it. Because in my job, like I'm fortunate to manage a handful of people. And so part of me thinks like, well, I'm smarter than the rest of the people. Like this is why I'm in this position, is because I'm smart enough. That's just as dangerous. I was blessed with a 6'5" body, but I didn't have that good of an arm. So every time someone walks by me, they're like, hey, did you play basketball in high school? And I'm like, nah. No. I was like, I played baseball and was mid.
Anyway. That's awesome.
So will you tell me, you're still dating your girlfriend now, right? The same girl You've been dating since your freshman year?
Oh, yeah.
6.5
years.
So, nice. My wife and I dated for 7 years before we got married. And so she went to Auburn and I went to Troy. And if you're not familiar, if you listen to this, you don't know where Troy University is. It's about 45 minutes south of Montgomery, Alabama, which is where Parker and I grew up. But so we dated long distance for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm just curious, like, how has that been for you? Because she goes to Auburn, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when you entered the portal, all my Auburn friends were like, Riley Leonard's going to go to Auburn because his girlfriend is Auburn. And I was like, I don't know.
It's like, let the man make it his own decision. Like, let him make his own decision.
My favorite one is every time like there's a coaching change. I'll get back to the question, I promise. But every time there's a coaching change, someone in my Auburn group text is always like, a buddy who lives in Auburn who said they just saw where Nick Saban's plane landed, and that means he's going to interview for Auburn, and like he's going to be their next head coach or something like that. I'm like, that's a lot of bold. Like, what are y'all doing all day? But I guess back to the question is, how has dating your girlfriend been long distance, and like just in the same vein of like keeping your way pure, how has that been for y'all?
Yeah, it's been so good. Like, I speak so highly of it, and it's not like Riley doesn't want to be with his girlfriend. He likes the long distance. Mm-hmm. No, it's like, and we were talking about this the other day on FaceTime. Like, I told her, like, she's grown so much as a person. And if I was in Auburn and like we were together every day, no way does she grow like in the way that she's grown. Like, she's on campus doing her schedule is twice as busy as mine. Like, legit. Like, sun up to sundown and then some. So she's in like the Young Life groups there. She's the Chi-O sorority, recruitment chair. Yeah, I don't know much about that stuff, but I
don't either.
I support her. You know, and then she's giving tours on campus, and she's in like 3 other Christian groups, and she's just grown so much. And I'm so happy I haven't been able to take that time away from her and distract her from that. And then for me, like, not being on the look for any, females or find a relationship. Like, my focus has been football and school, and like that's kind of what it takes at this level to be great. You really have to focus in on those 2 things, and we handle, we'll FaceTime, every night, and it's been great. Like, she's been so easy to work with. She knows like my practice schedule. I get tired. You gotta take your athlete naps here and there, and it's all good. Like, I'll have to wake up at like 4:45, 5, a lot of days, and it's hard, but we made it really easy. So I encourage anybody that's doing long distance, and I'm sure you could speak to it, like, the development of yourself is really good. So
that's pretty biblical too, because like, Paul says often in Romans, like, it's better for you, or maybe it's Romans, I don't know, but it's better for you to be single than it is for you so you can focus on your relationship with the Lord. And I'm completely paraphrasing this, but not that he speaks against like getting married or having a relationship, whatever, but it's like, because she's in Auburn, like, she can focus on her relationship with the Lord and do what God wants her to do at Auburn. And then you were at Duke and now Notre Dame, like, you guys can focus. And it's not that you don't want to spend time with each other. It's not that you don't want to see each other. It's not that you don't talk to each other. It's just, hey, we love each other, but we're going to love each other from afar and focus on what God has right in front of us. And then when the time comes, we'll come back together and do this life together. So that's all. That's awesome.
Yeah. And these are like the 4. Go ahead.
I don't know. I was just going to say that, like, my wife and I dated long distance, but for the first 2.5, 3 years of college, we weren't Christians. So like it was, and we still thought we were good people and like went to church or whatever. But like we didn't have like a faith-based mindset. Like our relationship was not centered around Christ when we first started dating. So just to clarify that we both found Jesus in college. And then after that, we had to like backtrack and change like our entire relationship as far as how we viewed each other. So I think that's cool that you're thinking about that now. I'm
so fortunate to have her, because like I'm just like every other college guy who's 21 years old. Like, I would be running around doing the stupidest things if I didn't have her. And like another thing I'm putting in my suit, like, and like I thought about this, but like it's a triangle with God on top, and it's me. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have seen this, and like the closer we are to God, the closer we are to each other, and like
that's right. Preach, dude.
that's so
Preach.
facts. Like the closer I am to God, and the closer she is to God, like when we're both at our, doing our thing, it just works out. And super grateful for her because, like I said, if I didn't have her, I would be running around doing some stupid things. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They actually use that same analogy in an episode of Boy Meets World, but you've never seen the show, so
I'm not, and I'm never going to.
I can't tell you the last time.
Is there a Girl Meets World?
Yeah, there is actually.
Maybe.
No, there is, because that was like, yeah, that was the spinoff, but it wasn't that. It wasn't as good. I never watched it, but no, I watched it actually like pretty recently because I got sick a week ago.
That's what you put on.
Well, hey, I was like, man, this like because it's low stress, low impact, like like what's gonna. It's like it was just it's a feel good show. So anyway.
I can't tell you the last time I watched an episode from Boy Meets World, if that tells you anything, Riley. So, what, let's see. What, so, yeah. So, for looking back at your time at Duke, I know that you are super grateful for that time and for your coaches and the players and all of that, your teammates. What would you say something that you learned spiritually from your time at Duke? Because I know a lot of people know, followed you this past year, and know, very little about kind of what you guys did at Duke and all that. But what is, something that nobody really knows about that you learned spiritually, for your time at Duke?
Yeah. Two things. One is, people can change. I saw it in my locker room, like, right in front of me. Good people that found Christ and became great people, like roommates who've given their life to Christ. People in my position group have given their life to Christ, and like these are people who were sinning like pretty heavily and just completely hit a 180. And like Jesus can move mountains, man. Like with some of these people, I probably would have walked in and be like, man, you can never become a Christian. Look at you doing all these stupid things. Like, I'm not doing that kind of stuff. Like, and now they have bigger faith than me. And that's not something I really saw in Fairhope. And then another thing is just like, there are a lot of people that don't like Christianity. I kind of talked about that earlier, but like me being in class and like announcing my faith and like getting stares is not something, obviously, coach, we've ever seen. Like that's not a thing in Fairhope.
No.
So I think it's pretty cool to stand up and talk about Christ. And like I said, I feel more pride and more eager to talk about him whenever everybody else isn't. I think in a room full of Christians, it's sometimes you don't even, it kind of goes without saying, you predetermine that everybody likes Christ, but when you walk into a classroom with a bunch of atheists, I like to share the word even more. So.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, at Fairhope and even Birmingham, I mean, where Jake is, like, we don't see that opposition of Christ very much. So it's a privilege, but and even here, like, Riley, like it's like if you go to church or if you go to FCA or if you do like, all these, Christian based things, it's like it's part of the culture. Like it's just what you do. So like it's highly encouraged, like people like pat you on the back for doing that. But I'm guessing at Duke. So at Duke, I think you told me before that you had like team Bible studies and stuff like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was great. There, like I say that, there were a lot of atheists at Duke, but there are a lot of strong Christians at Duke, and especially within athletics. Like athletics we created our own Bible study freshman year. I mean, you got like 3 or 4 of them are in the NBA right now. Adrian Griffin, Paolo Banchero, like these type people. But the credit really, like, we're just the dudes that showed up. The credit really belongs to like there was a couple swimmers and a couple rowers that created this Bible study. And now there's like 30 people that go to it every Sunday. And it was just great to be a part of it. Because, you know, when you get people from Duke, they're really like the best people in the country. Like, they're really talented, really smart. And when they're Christian, like, they're really good people to be around. So they help me in my faith a lot. And like, the community around you, like, you are who you hang around with. So I'm happy I was able to hang with them and worship with them every Sunday.
So how has that been since transferring to Notre Dame so far, since you've been there?
Yeah, it's been really weird because like every classroom I walk into now, there's like a cross above every door, and the teachers will like be giving a lecture, and then they'll say, and this relates to Jesus Christ, in 1 Corinthians or whatever, and it's just so 180. But I really appreciate it. Another thing that I've realized though, like, and this has like always been my complaint with like the different denominations, you know, this is a Catholic who, like, I think it's super important to understand that, like, and it goes without saying, but like we're all worshiping the same God. Like, this is a super Catholic school and I'm not Catholic, but like we're all worshiping the same God. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of division there. But as far as Notre Dame goes though, been great. They've been awesome in developing my faith. Everybody on the team, there's a fellowship here. It's a big fellowship within the football team here every Thursday. So yeah, this place spiritually, like spiritual growth is the number one thing that Notre Dame embraces.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's prayer spots like all over campus. There's this huge grotto that on my visit, me and my family prayed at, and I took Molly whenever she came up and visited, and we prayed at. So it was really cool.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's something, I think Parker kind of answered or kind of asked this question a couple questions ago, but like, what's something that's specific to Riley Leonard that you just want people to know about you if you haven't already talked about it? Like, what's something that you have always wanted to share with someone?
Well, I'm definitely like a goofy guy who like never gets mad, like out on the football field and stuff. Like whenever we're playing bad, like I'm like all right, like we got shut out, like we get shut out against Louisville, or like I break my ankle or have to get surgery on my toe, and it's just like I'm like super optimistic, super goofy. I love to just joke around, never get too serious because life's not that serious. I mean, I'm also like pretty nerdy in a lot of ways, and a lot of people don't see that side of me. Like, I don't know if you see, but like I got my like Star Wars action figures on.
Yes.
I like love Star Wars, bro, and there's just so many little things that I like the music that I listen to is like super quirky, and I like to like play instruments whenever I come across, and I suck at them all, but like the saxophone, harmonica, dude, I just like to do all these like weird things, and like a lot of people don't see that side of me, but like I like embrace like the nerdy side of me, but it doesn't really get to come out that much just because I'm always around like the jock football guys. But,
yeah.
But like we all got our stuff that like but we all got our stuff that like brings out the weird side of us. So I just find myself all the time like just nerding out about these silly little things.
Well, I'm about to share my nerdiness too. Like, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and
dude,
love Star Wars. Me and my wife love Harry Potter. And actually, a week from today, we're going down to
Witchcraft.
Disney World. Yeah, Witchcraft. Some people have their thoughts. Some have their thoughts about that. But we're going to Orlando for a Mardi Gras break. Yeah, Universal, and going to Hollywood Studios to go to Star Wars Land and all that. Man, I'm a big nerd when it comes to that too, man. So that's awesome.
Dude, I love it. Good stuff.
You You got it, Jake? Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, what? So, I got it. All right. So he kind of talked about that with, something that's interesting about yourself. How, like, going back to when you talked about, like, the transfer portal and, like, entering that, like, how hard was that for you to make that decision? Especially with, like, you talked about, like, how many good godly people you had around you and all the relationships you built. Like, how difficult was that for you to enter the portal?
Yeah, I always say that was one of the more difficult things that I went through in my life, just because I'm such a loyal person.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you hit the transfer portal, there's automatically a bad stigma behind it. Like, just naturally, whenever I see a kid hit the portal, I'm like, yeah, he don't want to compete, or like he's just in it for the wrong reasons. And a lot of people thought that about me, and like that was really tough, because I'm a person who I'm a people pleaser, and I really care what people think. And that's unfortunate, because that's something I've been dealing with my whole life. I care too much what people think. And whenever I read these things about me, and the negative Duke fans were really supportive, but of course there's going to be the people that say negative things about you. It's not easy. It's not easy being in this position whenever people really don't know who you are, the type of person you are, and just say these bad things about you. And whenever you have to have conversations with people from Duke and they think that you're in it for the wrong reasons, wasn't easy. But on the same side, like, you gotta do what's best for you and your family, and the Notre Dame fans were super supportive, and like, just like, to be real, there's like 10 times the amount of Notre Dame fans as there was at Duke. Like, just like, that's just like being real. And they've been super welcoming, with open arms. There's been like a lot of talk recently about the ankle and my ankle surgery and whatnot, and the fans are just like, dude, he's gonna come back like 10 times stronger. So it's really cool to see that.
So how was, all that being said, how was that like a challenge to your faith and you spiritually?
Yeah, like, going through all that stuff, and like, while I was doing that, like, for anybody who doesn't know, I had got surgery on my toe, which, I don't know, you got surgery on your toe? Like, it was a big surgery. Like, I was out for like 3 or 4 months. And then I got surgery on my ankle, and I was just going through a lot. And I realized, like, and I say I was going through a lot, like, oh, I got surgery on my toe and I'm a D1 quarterback. Like, nobody in my family passed away. Like, I'm like, everybody's healthy. Like, there's perspective here, but the closer I got to God, like, the easier it was to get through all that stuff. And like I said, like, it gave me perspective. Like, I hit kind of like the lowest of lows in my life this far. I've been pretty blessed. And God got me out of that, and smiling now, and I'm here for a reason. So, yeah, I think going through all that stuff really strengthened my relationship with Christ, because within the past year, like I keep saying, like, I've literally felt this, and I've felt rock bottom. You got, Riley's gonna win the Heisman, Riley's gonna go to the NFL. You start believing that stuff, and it's the wrong thing to believe, and then boom, you hit rock bottom, and then boom, 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 you get into the transfer portal. Everybody loves you. Boom, you get to Notre Dame. You got to get surgery. Back down. I felt a lot of emotion within the past year, but I'm very grateful for it. And like, I'm still going through that. Like, I'm not at the top again. Like, I'm still on my ways back up, going through a lot, like every single day, waking up. And there are challenges to living this life that I live, but the closer I am with God, the better off I'm feeling. So.
That's true.
We'll kind of maybe ask a couple more questions, because I want to be respectful of your time. But
dude, no, this is way better. My brother on Fortnite can wait.
Dude, me and Parker used to just hammer when Fortnite first came out. We used to hammer it, and then
I'm stuck. I suck. My tight end just gave me his PS5. He let me have it for like a couple months, but
I play just a little bit still, but not that much, because you got kids and a wife and all that. It's not gonna happen, but just a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Xbox came out when we were, I'm gonna say like 10 years old, probably somewhere around then. And like, dude, you want to talk about for like a 12, 13, 14 year period? Like, that's all. Like, And then once our second daughter was born, I was like, I should probably put this up. I was like, I probably don't need to play.
But NCAA is coming back this year.
30.
And
right.
They were saying they were going to pay the players. Like, dude, I'll pay them so much money to put me in the game, bro. Like, that's like the coolest thing ever.
Heck yeah.
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 So Jake, you got to hop back on it when it comes back, man.
See, I've been so tempted because that, NCAA 2014, like Jake Smith the fourth, dude, had broke every single record you could break. I mean, 1,000 yards rushing a game against FCS Southeast, which was Southeast, like, it was like they had the trashiest FCS schools you could, like make believe schools you could schedule and just like throw for 1,000 yards and rush for 500 in a game.
Good stuff.
And just be like, I'm winning the Heisman anyway. So and I don't want to like make you give a canned answer or anything to this question, but like, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or maybe like next year, like where do you feel like God's leading you somewhere, or are you just sort of waiting and just being patient and being present in the moment where God's placed you?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out right now. Like, obviously everybody sees me and they think I got it figured out. Like, I don't got it figured out. I don't got a clue what I'm doing. Like, I'll wake up tomorrow and be like, dude, what's the plan for my life? I have no idea. Like, hopefully you guys are at a place where you're starting to figure it out. But for me, it's like, dude, what's my purpose? I don't know yet. Like, straight up, I have no idea. But I did see something from Matthew McConaughey. He gave a speech one time. He said the man that his hero is himself, like 10 years from now. And like, I'm sure you guys have seen that, but if you haven't, I recommend going and listening to it, because like, I think that speaks for me. Like, I look forward to the man that I can become 10 years from now. And like, just I have so many ways to grow in my maturity. Like not thinking about myself all the time, not being so selfish, forgiving people more, and reaching out to people whenever I'm tired more, and doing all these little things. Like, I'm so excited to see who God turns me into 10 years from now. And then whenever I reach 10 years, I'm going to be chasing that guy 10 years after that. So that speech really stuck out to me, and I don't got a clue what I'm doing, but hopefully tomorrow I'll wake up. If not the next day, I'll wake up and know my purpose. But right now I got no clue.
Yeah. That says a lot, just being content where you are, man. So like, I know that, you mean a lot to people around Fairhope. And obviously outside of Fairhope. I mean, you mean so much to us, and, everybody from like, any middle schooler that I come in contact with, like, I'm helping Coach Stanton coach middle school football. And so like, we talk about you a lot, and like talk about, your time in middle school and how you grew up, and how much work you put in to get where you are. And, but we also tell them the reality is like, most of you guys are not going to make it to where Rowley is. So how much does it mean to you, like, just that, the Fairhope community is supportive of you, and like, no matter what you do, like, we're going to be all for you. Like I was talking to Coach Carter and Coach Messina on Friday, and we had a sophomore come up, and he was like, "Hey, Coach, I listened to some of your podcasts," and I was like, "Sweet, dude, that's awesome." I said, "Well, we got a special guest coming up next time," and told him he was Raleigh. I told him it was going to be you, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! I'm going to put like a notification on." So like, obviously, like,
man, how cool is
kids, that? Kids in Fairhope like love you, dude. So like, how does that put a lot of pressure on you, or does that like encourage you? Like, how does that help you, or whatever spiritually?
Yeah, pressure to me is whenever you got a gun to your head. Pressure in this realm, like, this is just a privilege to me to be able to sit up here and speak out about Christ and be an influence to all these kids. And I'm not able to experience it. Like, thank you for telling me that, because up here in South Bend, you kind of like lose track of everything, and people are sometimes scared to reach out and think they're bothering me. But like, that stuff like is what wakes me up in the morning and like motivates me, like, to run faster on every single rep. Like, that's the stuff that's in the back of my mind. just like there's so many people that look up to me and depend on me to like do great things, and I just don't want to let them down. So like all these kids that look up to me, like, and I also hope that I can show them like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like you guys see like 0.001% of my life, and like I say, it's all highlights. Like the day to day of my life kind of sucks. Like waking up early, like lifting these weights and going to these hard classes and then going to watch film and then going to rehab, you know, your injuries, like it's not necessarily fun, but it's something that I just want to give people perspective, and I want to show them the realities of this. And like there's so much more to life than just playing football. So anybody that's listening to this that's a kid in Fairhope, like enjoy it, because high school football is way more fun than college football. Like I'm telling you, high school is the most fun time of my life. Like I wish I could go back. And we did the stupidest things in the locker room, just goofing off, having fun with your boys, winning games on a Friday night. In a place like Fairhope, everybody just is so supportive. Like I miss the high school days a lot. And you know, college is great and it's fun and there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, but you know, I miss those high school days, and hopefully all those kids back home can find Christ the way I did. Because there's like a wave in Fairhope, and like within the past couple of years, like the Christians that are growing up in Fairhope as athletes and stuff, like it's unreal. I feel like every class, like kind of below me and maybe my class a little, and the class above, just really good Christian kids, and churches are just blowing up. The youth groups there are blowing up, and that's like I like seeing that more than anything. It's just all the kids that are going to church.
So if you could go back and tell yourself, like, as maybe like a sophomore or a freshman or even just a junior, like, what is one thing that you would tell yourself that you know now that you didn't know then?
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like everybody says, like talks about the good old days. Like you're living the good old days. Like even right now, I'm living in the good old days. But like, don't forget that. Like the moments in high school are the moments that last a lifetime, and the relationships in high school are the relationships that last a lifetime. So if you're ever feeling like overwhelmed, just you got a lot more coming your way here, like when you get to college. And me, you guys have kids, like that's even worse then. So I wish I would just tell myself to relax. God will take care of everything, because I did stress out a lot in high school, but high school, man, that's the time to relax and, you know, have fun with your friends.
Yeah. Parker and I are probably testaments to that, because like, you know, we told you before, like we've been best friends for our entire life. Like, I mean, I think I remember swimming at Parker's house the first time we really ever hung out. We were like 8 years old. We got to swim at night, and I was like, bro, Dad, can I go swim at Parker's house at night? He was like, sure. But we've been best friends ever since, man. I can think about all the times we've done stupid stuff and not so stupid stuff together. So high school is cool.
And one more thing, like it is not cool to drink and do drugs. Like the best decision of my life was saying no to all that stuff, because people respect it after a long time. One thing I've learned, once you say yes to something, it becomes so much easier to say yes a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth time. But when you say no to something and people understand the purpose of why you're saying no, like it becomes so much easier. And people like, I would go to parties, I would hang out, I would do all that stuff, but I wouldn't engage in the things that they were engaging in. And like towards the end of my high school days, nobody would even ask me to do the things, because they began to respect why I didn't drink or you know, do the things that everybody else did. Like it's not cool. Like that was the best decision of my life, and I'm so proud of myself at a young age to be able to say no and stand up for myself. So like anybody that's listening, and like anybody that thinks it's cool to drink and do all this stuff, it is not cool at all. Like and find a good group of friends that trust me, it is not cool to do that stuff. And you guys know that, but like being a younger guy that just went through it in Fairhope, I promise you, it'll be the best decision of your life to not engage in that stuff and to understand your purpose, and, you know, just say no. Because once you say yes to something, it's going to be so much easier to say yes, second, third, fourth time.
Yeah. And, Jake and I did not say no. We said yes. And now we wish we look back and say we would have said no. So, yeah, I totally agree with that, man. And, that's one of the reasons why I chose to be a coach and teach, is that I wanted to go back and say, look, man, don't make the same mistakes I did, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It only leads you to wanting more, because you're trying to fill that hole in your heart that's not meant to be filled with drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. It's meant to be filled with Christ, and don't try to fill it with that.
Come on.
So yeah, that's a word right there, Riley. That's a word.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's awesome. So I kind of want to close with this. I think you've hit around this kind of stuff kind of throughout the whole night, but like, especially you were talking about your time at Duke, and it made me think of Romans 10, verse 13 through 15, or 15 and a half, whatever, not the full verse. Says, for everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Then it goes into saying, how then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they've never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? So it's like goes in this reverse order. And like, I think it's cool how Paul writes is like, how are they going to be saved unless they've heard the gospel? How are they going to hear the gospel unless someone preaches it? And how are they going to preach unless you go? And so like, I just think it's such a great reminder of like our purpose on earth. You were talking about like, you don't know your purpose. And I know what you meant. You meant like, I don't know what my purpose is as it relates to football or what I'm going to do after football or anything like that. But like, no matter what we do, our purpose is to love God and love others and just share the gospel.
No doubt.
Because 10,000 years from now, like no one's going to care how many touchdowns you threw for in 2024 or 2025. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be like, I think like that guy's in heaven with me. Like that's what I know about him. So just want to encourage you and anyone else who's listening.
Yeah. And Riley, the going off what Jake just said, Dabo Sweeney said one of the best things I've ever heard. He said, when I face God, he's not going to ask me how many athletes I got to the NFL. He's not going to ask me how many skills I taught this or did this or that. He's going to ask me, what did I do with what I gave you? And how many people did you tell about me? And how many people did you bring to me? And like, when I heard that the first time, I was like, dang, like that's my purpose right there. My purpose is to make Christ known. And, for those that have not listened, like basically have not heard the gospel before, like the gospel is like, you are dead without Christ, and you're dead in sin. And without Christ, that's where you remain. And until you call, just like it says right here, how for everyone who calls in the name of the Lord will be saved. All you have to do is say yes to Jesus. I believe in you, and you're saved. That's it. And then you start following him. And there's a lot more that goes into that, but that's basically the gospel right there. And so like when I heard Dabo Sweeney said that, I was like, dang, like shout out to Dabo. That's like a cut to the heart right there.
That's awesome. Good for him. And thank you for sharing that with me, because like that kind of speaks to me. I was wondering like what my purpose is. Well, maybe that can give me a greater perspective, and just keep it simple, stupid kind of simplifies it. Like, just have a relationship with Christ and do everything that God gave you to glorify him. Like, that's going to be my mentality for a while. So appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, Riley, man, we're proud of you, dude. I know that, us in Fairhope, we're super proud, but, not just of what you've done athletically, but also who you are and who you're becoming. Like, I've seen growth since me and you played pickup basketball in the gym as like a 7th grader, and you balling on me in there during that time. But it's been a lot of fun to watch. Just you remain steadfast, and I watch from afar a lot because I didn't get an opportunity to coach you, but it's just been a lot of fun. Like just watching. Because it's been encouraging to me. So I'm proud of you, and thanks for joining us, dude. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
And I will cheer for Notre Dame as long as you are there. So I want you to know that I used to not care anything about Notre Dame. And I don't even really dislike Notre Dame. But it's like, whatever, you know.
But hey, we've already looked at the schedule, my dude. Y'all playing in Atlanta. So we were already trying to make a plan to come up there and watch you.
Mercedes-Benz. So, yeah, that's right. Come on.
Oh, yeah. You already know, just like Florida State this past year, we're going to come up and make a scene up there.
Baby. Yeah, that'll be fun, man. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything. This was really good for me to be able to refresh because obviously I've been overwhelmed these past couple of weeks, and to be able to sit down and talk about Christ with good people, it means a lot to me. So thank you.
Awesome,
you do it, my dude.
All right. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time.